presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right?
Very.
So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at the University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row.
Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Adding another Big Ten championship, a couple in Oregon track and field, and that's where we begin today with Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens joining us in the Country Financial Studio. So the Ducks have now won 4 Big Ten championships in the first year in the Big Ten. No other institution has won more than 2. You often use the phrase broad-based excellence, so could I borrow that phrase and say that's good broad-based excellence?
I would say run with that. That's exactly what we're aiming to do, provide everybody a chance to compete at the highest level. So, yeah, really proud of the men's and women's indoor track teams. And, the conference championships are kind of fun because it's about depth and scoring, throughout the lineup, not just getting the 10 points
That's
for
right.
winning an event. And to see so many student athletes, both on the men's side and the women's side, contribute to a conference championship is fun.
Well, and the women were well clear, to put it that way. But there was some drama against a familiar foe in USC down the stretch for the men. That's where I think the track meets and track and field in general becomes so exciting because you're starting to play that game of, okay, so they've still got someone competing here.
Sure.
The form charts get interesting down the
Very
stretch.
interesting, and that's what makes being at the University of Oregon or attending an event at Hayward Field. Our fans are so knowledgeable about the form chart on preliminary days, not just on the finals days. And you can kind of bump into any longtime Oregon track fan at Hayward and say, "Hey, can you give me the breakdown on what I really need to be paying attention to?"
Yeah.
And they'll break it down for you. And then, of course, Zach has it inside and out, too.
Oh, Zach, again, I've said this so many times, especially during track and field when you have some weekends where there's 3 different events going on, and then the next day on GoDucks.com, you see Zach Lawson put together the whole breakdown for you. I always tip my cap to what Zach does. A lot to keep track of for the coaches and for the staff. And, I thought you'd appreciate this story, Rob. So I have a colleague in the audio world, Steven, who is a just huge track and field person. Like the biggest track and field fan that you can imagine, but from the East Coast. Has never been to Tracktown, USA. He's actually making a family trip for the Oregon football spring game.
Awesome.
He's raised his son right. His son is an Oregon football fan, which is great. But again, from the East Coast. And he told me, he said, look, Otson's awesome. My son wants to see that. There's baseball going on against Oregon State this weekend. But he was like, I have to see the palace that is Hayward Field. And I'm often reminded just how special of a thing it is that Hayward Field, this jewel internationally, is just sitting right on campus.
No doubt. I mean, you said it. It's world-renowned. In that sport, it is the mecca of track and field in the world. And what's always interesting is with all the hype, it kind of exceeds expectations when people see it in person because of the setting. Right in the middle of a college campus.
Yeah, the tower, by the way, lit up if you saw it after the championships. So Ryan, who's here today, getting ready for baseball, Ryan made this comment as we were walking out of the PK Park press box. Lit up. You could see it from the PK Park
Oh, that's
press
cool,
box.
yeah.
So that was a cool moment.
Yeah, we light that thing for national championships and other big moments. So that's a fun tradition.
That's fun. Well, we got a lot to cover. It is men's basketball game day, senior night against Indiana. Baseball game day, 4 o'clock start, hoping for about an hour and 45-minute baseball game, and then Ryan will make his way over to Matthew Knight Arena. It's a doubleheader for us on the Oregon Sports Network and a double game day. That's common, though, this time of year.
That is common this time of year. So, yeah, if you can sneak out of work a little early, catch some baseball, It looks like the weather's clearing perfectly, and then pop on over for a big game.
Yeah.
Matthew Knight Arena, Indiana coming in. They're sitting on the bubble, playing well, and then we're all fighting for seeding and in the conference tournament, as well as kind of sharpening that resume for March Madness.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. I wanted to ask you about the baseball 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. I think it's been a success.
I think it has. Yeah, obviously it impacts some people during the week, but I do think it's been a success, and we appreciate folks coming out. Obviously, when you're playing at home in the Pacific Northwest on the first weekends, it's a little risky. But really, the Fridays and Saturdays have been great. Sundays, we've had to dodge a little bit. But yeah, I think it's been fantastic.
Well, it's just kind of part of the deal too. And I know Mark Wasikowski has been intentional with, let's be at home. You got a couple longer trips, be at home early in the season, and that I like that personally.
No doubt. And obviously, we want although we do have a veteran ball club. On the baseball side, it's fun to introduce your fans to the lineup and get ready for kind of the conference weekends when they come on the back end.
And now conference is here, by the way. USC, the first conference opponent for the Ducks this weekend on the road, but Utah Tech in town at 4 o'clock today. Ryan's got a 3:45 pregame show for you. Now on the men's basketball side. March is here, Rob.
Here we go. I know.
It's March.
I know. We talk often about, how do we get basketball, more attention in November, December, and January. But there's plenty of attention in March.
Isn't that the truth, though? I mean, I know there's so many conversations around, when you play games and the tournaments and all these different things. But here's the fact right now, right? March Madness is what everybody gets excited for. We all wait for this time, and there's nothing like breaking down a nitty-gritty report.
Nitty-gritty bracket. I mean, there's a whole industry born out of March. And, obviously everybody's paying attention to results every night now because it does matter to your nitty-gritty or we're always waiting for the latest bracketology update on where are we seated, where are we playing, what's the path. So, yeah, it's fun.
It's and it's a good resume right now for the Ducks. So we're sitting at 21-8. And I want to take this chance to ask you about this, Rob. I mean, we were talking about the success last time you were on a few weeks ago, but 15 years as the head coach for Dana Altman. Every year, 20 wins. Open floor for you now.
Model of consistency.
Yeah.
And he's just he's a master at taking what he has and finding the best way to beat an opponent. I mean, his X and O's are off the charts, and sometimes it's different ways, different years, or different ways, different nights, or different ways in the same night.
Yeah.
He just knows. He's a mastermind with the X and O's, and of focusing on that next game and what we need to do to win that game. That's why we will be a tough out in the tournament. When you have 36 hours to prepare. It's going to be tough. I like our chances.
You just never know what's going to happen once you get there, too, right?
That's right. I mean, some of it comes down to the draw, but, we've worked our way off the 8-9 line. If we work our way onto a 6 seed, I love our chances in the second round against a 3 seed.
Hey, there's a couple projections, maybe a 5 seed.
Even better.
Yeah.
Then, all that, you work all that up and, again, some of it comes to draw. And the like. But, the Big Ten is a tough league. So we had a tough non-conference schedule. So, what have we played? 16 quad one games?
I can tell you really quickly, we are now 8-6 in quad one games.
All right, so 14 quad one games. So
did you notice how I had to get real tight because the nitty-gritty
nitty-gritty at its best.
Is tiny. Yeah.
That's nitty. But yeah, so we're tested both at home on the road. Played some tough neutral site games in Vegas. So I think we have prepared for March.
Well, we talked a little bit about this last time, and I kind of wanted to revisit it. So just to give you an idea of some of these projections. So I'll be nitty-gritty for you. Okay, so here you go. So these are the latest projections for some bracketology for all the Big Ten teams. Illinois 8 seed, Indiana 11 seed. That's tonight's opponent. Iowa would be out. Maryland a 5, Michigan a 4, Michigan State a 2, Minnesota is out. Nebraska 12 seed, last 4 in. Northwestern out. Ohio State 11 seed, last 4 in. Ducks are a 6 seed or a 5 seed, depending on where you're looking. Out for Penn State. 4 seed for Purdue. Out for Rutgers. UCLA a 7 seed. USC out. Washington out. Wisconsin a 3 seed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of teams that are in the field.
It's a lot of teams that are in the field, and that's a gauntlet. And, and when you're playing that throughout the year, you are tournament tested.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're going to face.
You talk about those quad 1 wins, and we do, geometry and graphing now with our quadrants. Purdue has 8 quad 1 wins. The Ducks have 8. Michigan State has 10. Michigan has 8. So you start thinking about those things. They matter on a committee, right?
100%. When they start digging into the net and quad 1, and it's all measured on a daily basis now once you get to March, it does matter. And, again, when you start looking at, wins against A&M and Alabama on a neutral court, who are going to be really good seeds. And you start to look at that resume, then hopefully that can push you to that 5 seed.
I always like to ask you to take us behind the curtain when I can. And you've been on committees. It's, 1, I know it's tough, but 2, it's a lot of games that you're watching.
Well,
right?
It's a lot of games. And basketball is tough because, you're seeding on this S-curve and trying to avoid conference versus conference matchups until the second weekend. I haven't served on that committee, but I can't imagine the complication of 68 and then all the other parameters that you're trying to fit in. And it does get tough. Fortunately in basketball, we play, 11 non-conference games maybe? Yeah. 11 or 13.
13.
Yeah, 13 non-conference games. So there is an opportunity to have some interconference games, although most of them happen in November and December.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more in basketball than football.
I know you were on the football committee and chaired it. What other boxes have you checked on committees at this point?
I serve on the, I've spent some time on the Collegiate Advisory Committee of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and early on in my career, I served on a number of other committees, kind of sport committees and administrative committees.
That's got to be an amazing experience in so many different ways.
It is. Obviously, when you're talking about, a CFP or a USOPC and the importance of the collegiate system in Team USA, in the Olympic sports in this country, it's important work.
Boy, you start thinking about, too, that 4-year cycle. We've talked about this before, like with the college to Olympic connection.
It is, and you want to make sure, we worked, initially, kind of our charge was, to clear the pathway, right? These elite athletes have a lot on their plate, and to make sure that the rule structure and the communication is such that we give them the best chance as a hopeful to have success, both in college, but then on the Olympic stage. And the other thing is to highlight that connection. You may have seen the campaign Olympians made here to remind people that this collegiate system is where these people train, and many are identified and the support that we provide, whether it's nutrition, strength training, coaching, mental health, sports medicine, you name it. What we invest in our student athletes eventually supports Team USA.
Well, shoot, I mean, I've said this on this program before, and I think most people around these parts would agree with me. Like, the return on investment is those U.S. Olympic golds.
100%. And, when you get a chance to have a Cole Hawker back and put his gold medal in the elevator of the tower at Hayward Field, and, how humble is Cole? We do this with him, and we captured it. Many people probably saw it on social media. But we said, hey, do you have your gold medal?
Pocket.
As a matter of fact.
So good.
I do.
It's so good.
He's just so humble, and he was so appreciative. It's spectacular.
Only at Oregon is a guy walking around with a gold medal in his pocket. Come to the University of Oregon.
Right?
Mean,
Exactly.
but what a recruiting story that tells too, right? I mean, that's a big deal.
It does, and when we had the chance to tell him that what we were doing, obviously that. When that tower was built, there was a question mark on the 8th floor for the next gold medalist, because floors 1 through 7 had gold medalists, and there was a question mark there. And for him to be able to be that one was very cool.
Gosh, and what a you talk about drama in a track meet. I mean, the kick was
in an event that had 2 other world superstars. And he just said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and that's that's where I come back to our track and field conversation. So 3 of the 4 cross country and track and field titles have been won by the Ducks. I mean, and you talk about Jerry Schumacher and his staff building that program now to be winning Big Ten titles, competing on the national stage. And I've said this before, like, it gets taken for granted sometimes how hard that is to stay elite at that level.
It is, and we always want to celebrate conference championships. Obviously, in that sport, the number of national championships, and that is the goal. But you do want to celebrate a conference championship. And, obviously there's so many benefits for joining the Big Ten, but we brought a lot too.
Yeah.
When you look at sports, the 4 new members in sports like track and field and baseball and softball, we're going to help elevate the performance in a number of sports inside the Big Ten.
One thing I mentioned, Rob, and I'm actually kind of curious your perspective on this now too, like, Pac-12 indoor track and field, it wasn't part of it.
There was no championship. That's right.
And so I know that those meant so much, but when you can say like a Big Ten is a power conference champion, that means something.
It does. And if anybody was watching on Big Ten Plus, I thought they did a great job.
Shout out to Paul, by the way, Pro Duck on the call.
Yeah, of capturing it. Listen, the opportunity in the sport of track and field, the opportunity to compete as a whole men's team and a whole women's team really only happens twice.
Yeah, that's right.
In a season, so you got your indoor championship and then, NCAA and conference, both indoor and outdoor for men and women. And so the chance, you saw the celebration of our student athletes when they won that.
So great.
And when you have 2, everybody's in it.
Yeah, so great. And within like 20 minutes of each other.
Yes.
That makes it special. And, we've been fortunate. Another chance for me to just say that I think Tracktown USA should host the track and field championships at Hayward Field every year.
Second that.
Great. Good. Glad we could just clear the air again. But, we've been also fortunate in this community to see that and to see those moments. And you mentioned the education base that is the Hayward fan base. Like, that's what makes this special and why it's such a great thing.
100. I'll get the pleasure to sit with Jim Jaquia at basketball tonight, who has run more laps at Hayward Field than any other human being, probably run more stairs than any other human being, and attended more track events than anybody else. And he's just a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. So, if I need the breakdown on, hey, again, all the way back to preliminary days, hey, this team was penciled here and this didn't qualify. And then you get to, those memorable moments like, Raven Rogers' legend is
so
that 4x4 finish for a national championship. You can't get any more drama than that.
And then to take that even one step further, that's on my list of favorite Oregon moments.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
I was there when Devin Allen ran at the Olympic trials, and just to see that, like, for his narrative, right, that full circle moment is just so special. And that's something that I think is unique to track and field, in that you get those punches of 10 seconds. And that's it.
That's it. And they only come every now. You have to perform at peak in the most intense environment in a 10-second period.
There.
You've got one shot.
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's no next Saturday.
Yeah. We talk about exactly like in baseball, or the next day,
right?
In baseball, but we even think about the broadcast analogy, right? Is like there's nothing like being live.
Right.
You get one chance. Well, how about being live for just that tiny sliver?
Well, and the pressure for somebody. To see Devin perform that way in front of the home crowd on that stage for his chance, and then just to rip one off is just fantastic.
So great. Well, I didn't know that we'd go down memory lane this way, but I got to get time out. We'll come back. Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens with us. Athletic Director Tuesday. I haven't talked about women's basketball. Their tournament starts this week. March Madness is here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Always good when we can have the athletic director in and talk about conference championships. Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens joining us in the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Men's basketball, senior day tonight, 6 o'clock start. Baseball game day at PK Park, 4 o'clock start. And then women's basketball coming up Thursday. Breakfast with the Ducks, 8:30 pregame with Chris Clayton. Oregon against Indiana in the Big Ten tournament. What a season for Oregon women's basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. It's good to be right there. And, I saw the latest bracketology on that.
Nitty-gritty.
Nitty-gritty. Here we go. Again, very deep conference. Be good to get – it's good to get that bye. But now we're in that dreaded 8-9 game, which can be difficult.
Yeah.
So go get that one and set ourselves up again. Maybe we can get off that 8-9 line in the NCAA tournament, sneak onto the 7 line would be huge.
Well, and I was looking through to the nitty-gritty point. You look at what that conference is on that side of the sport too. I mean, both men's and women's basketball in the Big Ten, a ridiculous number of teams that are projected to be in the field.
No doubt. And when you combine the Big Ten and the SEC, it's going to be over a third of the field. It feels like in both.
Which we kind of expected, I
guess.
Yes,
I think so. I think as you expected it and you said, could it? And then as the season's played out, you're like, yeah, I can.
Yeah, and teams that are right around 500 or even under 500 in conference, it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
in the era
depth.
of the large conference.
It does, and the depth of it and the talent, for sure. And we've seen it, right? You go to Minnesota, tough place to play. Yeah. And then you play a Rutgers who have 2 freshmen on their team that are projected to be top 3 picks in the NBA draft. So any night, anything can happen.
Yeah, as Luke Jackson would say, someone can always go on a heater, and you just never know what's going to happen.
You just hope it's one of ours. And hey, it was fun to see that the crowd in the second half of that USC game have an impact. And boy, did they love the block shots that Nate was having.
Yeah. And shout out to KJ Evans too, who the last couple weeks has played really well, finishing around the basket, rebounding the ball, and that Coach Altman will bring up rebounding. I actually already talked to Coach Altman for our pregame coming up at 5:30, and let's just say that the rebounding was a topic, and it was for KJ Evans. I mean, and that's where this gets fun, right? Because it doesn't really matter what you did in November and December. Once you make the field, you get your body of work, you make the field. Look at NC State last year.
Yep. Man, there's we have them every year, right? The Sweet 16 is always loaded with teams that just figured out, tinkered around in November and December and figured out who they were and played to their strengths, and then they end up in the Sweet 16. And I think we're rounded into form the right way at the right time.
Can you do a Rubik's Cube?
No.
Okay, I can't either. I'm very bad at it, and I have made it one of my life goals to be able to consistently do it. And I would just like to point out to everybody that one Nate Biddle is very good with a Rubik's Cube.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a fun fact that maybe you want to just have in the back of your mind down the stretch.
Learned something new today.
Yeah.
So does he do it for time?
He can, I think. Yeah. I've seen him do it occasionally.
Oh, wow.
So he's got it down.
Okay. Is he teaching you?
He should. I'll ask him.
All right.
I'll ask him. But there's always something about lining up
There's an
Rubik's
NIL
Cubes.
deal for him. Right there.
See, there it is. See, look at the new era, you know?
Absolutely.
You know, hey, talking about that, did you see Dante's stat line last night?
I did not.
Folly Dante just went – it was awesome.
Outstanding. It was fun to see him when he was back a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I mean, you talk about a guy who took advantage of the modern era of college athletics and just how everything can be so wonderful.
And he captured it for those that were able to go to our endowed scholarship dinner that we do every April. He was, you know, we usually have 2 speakers. He was one of them.
Yeah.
And he was so authentic and raw. It was perfect about why athletic scholarships matter.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Went for 19 in 19 minutes went for 10 and 9 in his NBA debut.
Nice.
Really exciting.
That is very exciting.
He is how can you not root for that guy?
Yes.
Well,
he's a guy. I mean, he's just such an energy giver. Just when he was back, 2 weeks ago, he just always has a smile.
Yeah.
When you have contact with N'Fale, it makes you smile. It makes you feel good.
Yeah. So great. So great. All right, I mentioned baseball. Good start to the season for
Great start to the season. You know, obviously, incredible offense, depth, can come from all different parts of the lineup. It's we probably lead the country in catchers who can play outfield.
Yeah, that's true. We've discussed, like, what does it mean? Actually, you know what? You can weigh in on this. As the athletic director, you get to define something for us on the broadcast. Okay?
I feel like this
is going to be good.
All right.
You know where
just don't put me in a bad position.
We won't.
Okay.
Believe me, we won't. No NCAA violations, right? No nothing. Okay.
And don't make me pick a favorite of something either.
No. Oh, gosh. That was the best piece of advice I ever got from Jerry Allen. Anyone ever ask you for a favorite duck, just don't answer the question.
Right. Love the one you're with. That's
exactly.
Right.
So here's the discussion that we were having. When you list someone as a utility player in baseball, how many positions do they need to be able to play?
2.
Okay. Now, can I list him as utility if it's just catcher/outfield?
Yes.
Okay. So then now a true utility player, just any multiple position.
Right.
See, you've helped our argument.
Was that okay? That was supportive of the argument.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of like catcher/outfield, and one of the discussion points is like, well, we could just say utility then,
right?
You know, and someone like Ansoneros can play like 7 positions.
I was gonna say, and most of those guys have played multiple outfield positions.
Oh yeah.
Because center field's a lot different than right field.
No doubt. I mean, and that's where you get like the age-old, you know, you can play first base and left field.
Right.
Okay. Are you a utility player? I don't know. The argument goes on and on.
But if you go from catcher to center field,
right, amazing.
That is
and
amazing.
And then makes a top 10s on Sports Center.
I saw
catch.
that. I saw that.
I just, you know, Ansoneros is who we're talking about, everybody. For those of you who want to have some fun at baseball, just watch how many positions Berkeley Mabius was a catcher in right field, and Cohen Nikolai probably can play 17 positions. I'm looking at Ryan. I mean, that's where we're at.
And if you love going to batting practice, Anson can swing right-handed, hit a home run, and on the very next BP pitch, hit one out left-handed. So
right.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
He's a pretty special athlete.
Versatility also. So Berkeley Mabius is also a switch hitter. Haven't seen him from the right side yet this year, the way that it's worked out. And I mean that's where the versatility. I've talked about this with Coach Wazikowski. Like, you want that on your team, right? I mean,
well, especially as we go from a 40-man roster to a 34-man roster, right?
That's true.
So
yeah,
baseball's this year under the new rule changes, we're at 40.
Right.
Next year we'll be at 34. You know, two-way players at a premium, players that can play multiple positions at a premium, players that can hit from both sides of the plate for a late situation pinch hit.
Yeah.
You know, might save you a roster spot here or there.
You know, to that point, it's hard sometimes, I think, for me even to wrap my head around, like, and I know the coaches are having to adjust the way they coach based on changing landscapes. That always happens, rule changes, whatever it may be. But that is happening right now.
It is 100%. Yeah. You know, and I know a lot of coaches. You know, they need to have those conversations with young people because you're gonna in sports whose rosters are going to be smaller under the new rules. You're gonna have to make some roster changes of kids who've done everything right.
Right.
And that's an unintended consequence. You know, football is going to go from 120 to 105.
Right.
You know, those 15 players, you know, have probably done everything right. They just haven't seen the field. But, you know, because of a rule change, you're going to have some really hard conversations.
Yeah, it's the adapting world.
It is.
Right. On that note, too, softball. I mean, softball is a team off to you talk about a great start.
Unbelievable start. Yeah, no, and, you know, the freshmen have just come on. And there's a little bit of a power surge there. they can hit some balls, and it's a total team effort, similar to baseball. You're seeing it coming from a lot of different people, both in the circle and defensively and at the plate. So, great team to see. It was fun to see them at home.
Back-to-back home weekends, too.
Yes.
Back-to-back tournaments for Oregon softball.
And obviously Florida State and Oregon State coming this weekend, so an opportunity to see some exciting softball.
Women's golf, the number 3 ranked Oregon women's golf team, by the way. They're in action again today. Number 1, Stanford, is in the field with them, which kind of makes for a nice race of those great West Coast teams. What a couple tournaments, though, that women's golf has put together for Derek Radley.
No, I mean, to be ranked number 3 and obviously, been in that championship match a couple of times and just knocking on the door and done it with different lineups. And now, this year's team, there's incredible depth, a number of players that can go low, which, obviously has a huge advantage. So, yeah, it's fun to see. And again, you want to talk about somebody, I would put Coach Radley in the same bucket as Enfale. You can't help but see him and get a smile on your face. The energy, the enthusiasm, and the passion that he brings to being a Duck is pretty special.
A baseball term for some of you, they are fountains, not drains.
Right. Yeah,
100%.
Energy giver, not energy taker. Yeah, all of that. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Lacrosse, I told this to Coach Drummond, a noon start time on a Thursday is a great lunch break.
That is an awesome lunch break. Again, you want to talk about another energy giver, right? There's a I love being on their sidelines. The connection of their student athletes to what's going on in the field, the coaches, they're a lot of fun.
Well, I've kept you for like 5 minutes longer than I said I would. I hope you didn't have a 1:30.
I got a 2 o'clock. So
Oof, we're okay. The Oregon Athletic Director, Rob Mullens. What else did we miss? Anything
I think
else?
we covered the landscape. See everybody tonight at Matthew Knight Arena. Unfortunately, I've got to set a meeting, so I'll be listening to Ryan at the first pitch. But hopefully people can get to PK Park, over to Matthew Knight Arena, and let's go Ducks.
It's a fun time, huh? It's a fun time. I don't think we're talking again until April, and then it's all spring football and beyond after that. So
well, let's go have a big March.
I hope that you and I are not at home very much.
That would be the idea. Home to do a quick wash and repack.
That's right. You've done this once or twice. Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, guys.
Timeout. When we come back and talk a little softball, updates on Oregon women's golf, and a peek at the men's basketball resume breakdown, the nitty-gritty, if you will, on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything, but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/therightseat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Ma, is this how you feed a hamster?
I think so.
Is my homework right?
I think so.
Is, this milk still good?
I think so.
When it comes to parenting, sometimes it's okay to think you know. But when it's something as important as your child's car seat, don't just think. Know. Double check if your child is in the right seat for their age and size. It'll help protect them in a car crash. Don't just think. Know by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember. Back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide arms for this wayward son? I left my heart.
It's men's basketball game day. Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. So if you haven't seen it across social media yet, we're giving away viewfinders tonight. We've gone back to the 3D viewfinder. I got to tell you, everybody, these turned out great. Shout out to the Oregon marketing team. They've got a moment from 1974, 2002, 2007, 2017, 2024, back to 1939. And look at this. You can actually remove the viewfinder film, pop it down back in. It's a multi-faceted viewfinder. These are great. First 500 fans tonight at Matthew Knight Arena will receive the exclusive Oregon viewfinder. It is such a cool thing. It is such a cool idea. I'm already starting to contemplate how I'm going to get one for Luke Jackson because he is going to be really, really thrilled about these. Luke is featured in there. Luke Jackson and I will have pregame coming up tonight at 5:30, a 6 o'clock tip when the Ducks take on Indiana in the final home game, if you can believe it. And Oregon trying to add to the resume, which right now the Ducks are sitting at 21-8. They're 10-8 in Big Ten play, 31 in the net, 24 in the net strength of schedule, 33 in the KenPom rankings, 5, 6, 7 seed depending on where you're looking. Ducks are 8-6 in quad 1 games, 5-2 in quad 2 games, and ultimately Oregon sitting smack dab in the middle of the Big Ten standings. It's Michigan State, Michigan, Maryland, Purdue, Wisconsin, UCLA, Illinois. Now, that Illinois game could come back to hurt the Ducks a bit. They could pull even with Illinois with a win over 9-9 in Big Ten play Indiana tonight. And then the Ducks need some help. They need Illinois to lose down the stretch, and Oregon could move above Illinois. The Ducks at this point, the best they can do is tie Maryland, Purdue, Wisconsin, and UCLA. UCLA's got the tiebreaker. Ducks have the tiebreaker over Wisconsin. Purdue's got the tiebreaker, and then Maryland, the Ducks have the tiebreaker. But you need some help. For all those teams that have 12 wins, Maryland, Purdue, Wisconsin, UCLA, you need some help if you're the Ducks. So I think it's likely Oregon's going to end up somewhere in the 6, 7, 8, 9-ish range. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, for the Oregon women, a 9 a.m. start on Thursday for Kelly Graves and company in the Big Ten tournament. Ducks are playing the essential host team in Indiana. Oregon will look to advance in that Big Ten tournament. Chris Clayton's got an 8:30 pregame show for you on Thursday. We'll have all the breakdown. I mentioned women's golf. So the number 3 ranked Oregon women's golf team will enter the final round of the Julie Inkster Invitational, or I should say entered the final round of the Julie Inkster Invitational earlier today. In second. They're 1 stroke back of number 1 Stanford. Ducks finished 16 under par across 36 holes on Monday. Karen Saru shot 10 under. Ducks have had multiple leaders. It's often been Kiara Romero. It's often been Suvachaya Vinichatham. Now it's Karen Saru. And it is a deep lineup that Derek Radley has. The Oregon women's golf team, I'm telling you, just keep an eye on it. We'll have some updates as the day continues, but things are looking pretty good for Oregon women's golf this year. And to be honest with you, this may very well be a preview of one of these postseason events for Oregon women's golf. Stanford's routinely toward the top of the rankings, and the Ducks have played Stanford in a championship match recently for a national championship. Action continuing today. We'll have some updates for you on the baseball broadcast that starts at 3:45 and our basketball broadcast that gets underway at 5:30. Quick timeout. When we return, talking softball. Missy Lombardi, the Oregon softball head coach, after Oregon opened up the home slate unbeaten, now getting ready for the second home weekend for Oregon softball. Talking with Coach Lombardi next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/24.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/24.
This is Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now, so good to see you real.
Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. I was actually talking with Oregon men's basketball head coach Dana Altman earlier today. So Ryan, who's in here for baseball, sat down with Coach Lombardi. Coach Lombardi, who was absent this past weekend due to a personal matter, but what a performance by her team. Sam Martyr, shout out to Sam as the associate head coach. Ducks still went undefeated, and Coach Lombardi reviewed all of it with Ryan earlier today.
Missy Lombardi here with us in studio after another really successful week for Oregon softball, another undefeated week for Oregon softball. Just putting to words how the energy of the team is right now when you have had 2-3 successful weeks in a row where you really haven't lost. It's just been victory after victory, and you start at home with a really successful weekend once again.
Yeah, this group, they're playing really well together. They've got great confidence. You could see the energy that they have. They love to play softball. You could see how they feed off of each other as well.
It's not easy as we approach towards conference play to already have 20 wins on the record, a 20-1 record, 15 consecutive wins in a row. What sort of magic in a bottle do you feel like a team captures when you come to the ballpark and go 1-0 or sometimes even 2-0 at every day over the last 3 weeks?
I just think it's the process. These guys have been working extremely hard since the fall, since we showed up on campus and went on our retreat. And everything that they have been working on in the fall, in the month of January, you could start to see that it pay off a little bit for them. So they put a lot of time into it. I don't know if there's a lot of magic. I think it's just kind of boring process stuff. but it's stuff that they really, really believe in and go after on a daily basis.
And it helps the fans around believe in it, too. And it was really fun to see at Jane Sanders Stadium opening it up last week with the Oregon Classic, getting to see all the fans experience this team for the first time. That's really cool.
I think it's really cool. We've been talking a lot about our fans coming out and get to see this is such a different team. We graduated so many seniors last year. For them to really get to see what this team looks like at the Jane, and to see the power that we have, the speed, the pitching, the defense, just to see it all being put together.
A lot of really strong team numbers to this point in the season. Also, really a lot of strong individual numbers last weekend specifically. Kedri Lushar, a 7.14 average, had 3 doubles, a lot of extra base hits, drove in 7 runs, stole more than a few bags. Just her all-around game over the weekend. It was one of the better weekends for Kedri Lushar that I've seen in her entire career.
Yes, it was great, and we need that from her. She's got great power. She's got really good speed, high softball IQ. We need her to come in and compete. And, we talk a lot about picking up strain for each other, and you could see her do that all weekend long.
And we know what Paige Shinicki can do with the glove, but she also really came through with the bat this weekend. Hit over 600 for the weekend, 2 home runs. When she's a defensive threat like we know she's going to be so consistently, and an offensive threat like we saw this weekend, there are a few better shortstops in the entire country, aren't there?
I think she's the best shortstop in the nation.
Her glove certainly proves it, and her offense picked it up last week, and she's not the only person to get it done. With Katie Flannery, who put together a really solid game to close the Mary Nutter against Missouri, carried that momentum into this weekend at the Oregon Classic and put together another strong week for her offensively.
You can see Katie's coming into her own. Katie is excellent defensively, but she's an excellent hitter as well, and sometimes it just takes a little bit, and you could see her. I really liked how she finished Mary Nutter. I thought it was important for her to finish strong there, and then to see what she did this past weekend. We're seeing what Katie is capable of doing, what she did last year, and I think she's just going to continue to get better.
The offense was really strong over the weekend, but the pitching staff made sure that the leads were kept the whole time through. Lindsey Grine, Elise Sokolsky both reached career numbers of 300 strikeouts. That's not easy to do. Just put into perspective what 300 strikeouts means throughout a body of work of a career for a softball pitcher.
It is not easy to do. I think of those 3 going into their junior year, you've got to have a ton of strikeouts each year to be able to get to that number. So I just think it's a testimony to their hard work and what they've been doing leading up to this season. They've both worked really hard at perfecting their pitches, at having really good command, and to being able to change speeds, and you could really see that this past weekend.
When the offense is clicking, having a pitching staff that's clicking with Grine and Sokolsky, Taylor Spencer, all the way around the entire staff, it helps when the offense can give you a lead early, but then the pitchers in the circle can also keep that lead throughout the course of a game. And the pitchers have gone extended outings and limited the runs that they've given up. It's been really strong complementary play, both offensively and defensively, hasn't it?
It has, and when they do that, that's when we're at our best. When they sit and just go back and forth with the offense having a good half inning, and then they pass it to defense. And defense, we get the leadoff hitter and have a shutdown inning, and then pass it back to the offense. I think that's when you really get to see us at our best, when we are just feeding off of each other.
Very briefly throughout the course of last week, your team gave up the national lead in stolen bases. The lead is back in stolen bases, 81 stolen bases. You said the goal coming into the year was 100. You're 19 away. We're still over a week out from conference play. Just the threat on the base paths that your team has been, it's been a rampant offensive attack on the base paths.
It has, and that's why it's so important for us to get on base, because we know once we get on base, we can move around pretty quick. We can turn singles into doubles, score right after that. So I think it's just knowing the type of speed that we have, whether it's getting on by a hit, a double, a walk, a hit by pitch. We just want to get on, because once we get on, we feel confident we can move into scoring position pretty quick.
And it really doesn't matter where on the base paths your team has been, because not only are you number 1 in stolen bases, you're also top 5 in home runs hit, leaving the yard at an electric rate to this point in the season. It's a power speed type of threat team where you can get players on, and then you can also drive them in wherever they are on the base paths, even if they're not in scoring position.
Yes, and one thing we've been talking about all year is that it's important that we have different ways to go about winning. If we can only win one way, we're going to do it, but it's going to be hard to do it that way all the time. So if we can win in multiple ways, whether it's with the long ball or if it's with bunts and slaps or whatever it may be, or getting a run or two, and our defense and our pitching staff holding us the rest of the way. We need to be able to win multiple ways. That's something that's been really important to us all year.
And your team has done that so far. There's a lot of talk around Diamond Sports about 5-tool players. Right now, you're carrying a 5-tool team. You're number 1 in stolen bases. You're number 4 in home runs. You're 6th in the country in fielding percentage. You're top 10 in ERA. And you're 18th nationally in batting average. You're top 20 in the 5 tools of softball. It's a 5-tool team. You talk about winning in so many different ways. It's really hard to beat your team right now because there are so many ways in which your team can hurt an opponent offensively, defensively, in the circle, all the way around.
Yeah, I think that's I love that we're able to do that. And I think it's just, again, this group understanding that we can win in different ways and just knowing each game there's different strain that we're going to have to take on, and different people are going to have to take on that strain. And if it was the same people every single game, it's not enough. We need multiple people to be able to do that. And I think just through those numbers, you're able to see that we have different people that can take on strain.
Got a little taste of what the Jane can be last week with the Oregon Classic. Even more so this week with the Jane Sanders Classic. Welcoming in a top 10 team in Florida State into town. Twice you're going to play Florida State. That is a high-quality opponent. And these are two teams with Oregon and Florida State that could very easily be hosting regionals. This is postseason softball like you've been talking about throughout the entire non-conference.
100% it is. And with that, we need a postseason environment. So it's about getting our fans and our supporters to come out to the Jane all weekend, and let's get a preview of what a regional and a super regional could look like this weekend.
It's going to be electric softball all weekend long. Also get to welcome in an in-state rival in Oregon State into town. It's always great when you can play a top 10 team. It's also always great when you can host the Beavers and get to play them early in the season.
Definitely. I just think the rivalry there, and I'm excited to be able to host this year at the Jane.
I thought it was really interesting. Stephanie Maake talked about this a little bit after Sunday's game. It was the fans' first experience seeing this new team, but it was also the freshmen's first experience seeing this fan base. And Steph talked about how it was just a little bit nerve-wracking to see it, how parents came up to her and said, we've never seen the Jane this packed. Let's make it even more so this week. Pack it even more and get to experience what this great new group has assembled here at the Jane. I think it's going to be an electric weekend at the Jane Sanders Classic for Oregon softball.
I do too. We always talk about the Jane being a lion's den, and that's what we need. We need a lion's den this weekend. They're going to have a lot to cheer about. This team is such an exciting team to watch, and I know for our team, it's such a privilege for us to play at the Jane. That's something that they don't take for granted. They love our fans. They love the support. Just the venue in itself is the best. So we're really looking forward to a great weekend.
So what's it going to take to have success this weekend and take down high-quality opponents at the Jane?
I think it's continuing to do what we've been doing. It's just really stay to our process, understand things that we did well this past weekend, things that we need to improve on, and get that situated so we can be great this weekend. But it's that little process thing. It's kind of a boring thing, but it's just gone such a long way for this team, and they just need to stay right there with it.
It starts for Oregon on Friday at 6 o'clock against Florida State. Doubleheader on Saturday against Oregon State and Florida State. And then Sunday and Monday against Abilene Christian. A 5-game weekend for Oregon softball, trying to continue the momentum that has been brought in throughout the course of non-conference play. It's the last non-conference weekend before Big Ten play starts. Going to be great to be out at the Jane once again.
Yes,
Coach,
definitely.
Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coach Lombardi, Ducks are back at the Jane, back-to-back weekends at home. Awesome. You know what else awesome? Ducks winning. A Duck won today. Tell you about that when we wrap up the show next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still a life to live. For the better of myself, my family, my weapon is now safely put away.
A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
You say you never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. Julie Inkster Invitational Individual Champion Karen Suru just into the clubhouse today. Karen Suru shot 66, 68, 69, 13 under, a three-way tie for first. Second straight tournament Oregon has had the individual champion for Derek Radley's team. The Oregon women's golf team, they're wrapping up as we're closing the show today at the Julie Inkster Invitational. We'll see what happens. Full recap from our Nate Kruger will be on GoDucks.com, and we'll break it all down for you tomorrow. A lot to unpack tomorrow as well because it's a double game day for Oregon baseball and Oregon men's basketball. Ryan Milano's got the call starting at 3:45 for Oregon baseball's matchup against Utah Tech. We'll also have a 5:30 pregame across the Oregon Sports Network with myself and Luke Jackson when Oregon hosts Indiana for Senior Day tonight. A 9-9 Indiana team in the Big Ten. They are fighting for not just Big Ten tournament seeding, but their NCAA tournament life. They are a pure bubble team right now. Indiana's not one of the last four out or first four or last four in or first four out or whatever, but they're an 11 seed. They're close. This is a big game for Indiana. And it's a big game for a lot of reasons for the Ducks. See you at PK. See you at Matt Knight. Talk to you tomorrow.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow. You sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips.